What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dark Horse MMA Podcast, episode 7. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on the post notifications for multiple videos every week, all MMA, all unfiltered, all unbiased, from the fan perspective. So let's get to it. There were some fights over the weekend, huge card, UFC 252, Daniel Cormier against Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight strap and to be the heavyweight GOAT. But before that, just to catch up what's been going on, as you can see, I got a little podcast set up here. If you're listening on YouTube, you can see it. I got the Fight Club poster, I got Mike Tyson, I got Kobe and MJ, a couple GOATs. So I just got all this shit from Amazon, these bootleg lights that I'll probably have to return soon, but whatever. Something that's been going on with hockey, Leafs just got eliminated last week, I believe. Another disappointing for Leaf fans. For my Canadian listeners out there, another disappointing year. It's just another typical year for the Leafs, I guess. Another huge upset. And, it is what it is, as Max Holloway would say. And another thing was, been doing the Nike workout still. If you listened to last week's podcast, Jules and I talked about it. We've been doing some of the workouts off the Nike Training Center app. It's really been good. I'm really mixing up from just the weightlifting. Obviously, we can't train jiu-jitsu right now, so that kind of sucks. It does really suck, actually, but that it's a good switch up. I've been doing them, a lot of fucking burpees and jumping squats, which I never have done before, so it's a nice change up. I get a really good sweat in. Can't complain about that. And another thing was, I've been trying to get my morning routine back. I'm really big on morning routines in general. I feel like they start your day off so well, get the snowball effect going, get a lot of momentum, just a killer day and just get a lot of shit done, basically. Some of my morning routine real quick. I have been getting up. I meditate for like 10 minutes or so. Visualize my day, visualize my future that I want. I read a book recently that's called The Answer. It really just changed my life and perspective. I don't think the same, so I highly recommend that if you're a reading man or woman, I should say. So yeah, I wake up, meditate, I drink my Epsom salt, not Epsom salt, I drink my Himalayan salt. I take a bath in Epsom salt. Get some electrolytes in the system, and then I actually go down to my basement. I ordered some mats off Amazon, like just training mats I can roll on them too eventually. And I do a lot of static stretching. I've been really into stretching as of late. I really want to be able to kick people in the face. That's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to have a well-rounded arsenal when it comes to training in MMA. So I don't want to just be a ground fighter and have box. I want to be able to kick people. So yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And there's just a lot of other benefits to it, realistically. And Joe Rogan recently tweeted or posted a picture on Instagram about it and just saying there's so many benefits. So I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to do it, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna commit myself. So that's something I'm just getting out of the way of right away in the morning. But it's been good. I've done it probably like 3 times so far. Get it up at 6. I eventually want to get up at 5. It's really nice. There's no distractions. Everyone's still sleeping. There's a really cool feeling that I get when knowing that I'm not being productive and other people are sleeping. I don't know. I think it's really addictive. So I highly recommend you try it. It obviously sucks the first couple nights, but you do start to love it for sure. After I stretch, I will have breakfast, some fruit or whatever, and then I will, either edit a video, read. I always try to do something productive right in the morning because that's the reason why I'm waking up so early, right? But so that's pretty much my morning routine. Anyways, I know you guys don't want to hear too much about that because this is an MMA podcast. You guys want to hear about MMA, and I want to talk about MMA. I don't want to talk about myself. But to get into it, some current events that have been going on. This was a huge one. Paige Van Zann. I thought this was complete bullshit when there was speculation going around about it. She actually signed a 4-fight deal with bare knuckle boxing. And if you know who Paige Van Zann is, you know that's a pretty crazy thing to do because, you know, she has this huge stigma about being just a pretty face in MMA because she, you know, she's a good-looking girl, to say the least, and she's a fighter, so that's nuts. And she gets a lot of money. She gets paid more, basically, to post a bikini picture on Instagram than a fight. So that says all you need to know about her, the fact that she signed a bare-knuckle boxing contract. That just shows that she's an actual fighter. So, you know, you got to give her credit. And something that you got to point out is that whenever she would have a fight scheduled, the person she was fighting, or even just other fighters that weren't getting a lot of attention, they're just saying, "Oh, she's just getting this attention because she's a pretty face and all that shit." But you know, she's proven them wrong doing this. This is nuts. She's getting paid for it, well deserved. So you know, good for her. She's supposed to be competing in November with them, so we'll see how that goes. She ended up with a UFC record of 5-4, so it's understandable that the Dana White and, you know, whoever at the UFC wasn't really serious about negotiating a new contract with her because she did want more money. But if you have a 5-4 UFC record, I don't care how good looking you are not going to get paid. You're not a good fighter in the UFC. I'm sorry, but come on, 5-4, that's not a good record. She talked about how she could make the return to MMA afterwards because she recently joined American Top Team in Florida. So that's pretty much all of the reason why you would want to return eventually. She actually had 5 or 6 huge promotions to decide on when she tested free agency. There were a couple big ones where Bellator and one, and I really thought she was going to go to Bellator because her current boyfriend, Austin Vanderford, is a Bellator fighter, and he's a pretty good one. So that's pretty surprising. I thought for sure she was a lock in Bellator, but, you know, fucking, I don't know where this came from. She could have still been a fighter in my eyes as long as she fought in Bellator. So I don't know. Good for her. Good for you, Paige. All the best of luck. Please don't get cut out too badly. Anyways, so going on to the next topic was actually that happened today. I believe it's the 17th today. So Jon Jones just tweeted out that he is vacating his light heavyweight belt. I'll actually pull up the tweet that he put out right now. So he tweeted out, "Just got off the phone with UFC. Today I confirmed that I'm vacating the light heavyweight championship. It's officially up for grabs. It's been an amazing journey. Sincere thank you to all my competition, UFC, and most importantly, you fans." And he also tweeted after that, "The last I spoke with UFC about my salary, there was no negotiating. If that ever changes, I'd love to come back and compete again as a heavyweight. Until then, I'll be enjoying UFC as a fan and doing my best to take care of my family and community." And it's funny, right when I took note of this to talk about it, he actually tweeted out that he's basically going to, he had another conversation with the UFC that I'll pull up right now. So he actually said, "Just had a really positive conversation with the UFC. Sounds like there will be negotiations for my next fight at heavyweight. All good news. The weight gating process began." So turns out he is coming back, most likely. He's going to return at heavyweight, which I don't blame him because no disrespect to the light heavyweights, but you know that division really isn't that stacked. You know, there's not really big names that will add to his legacy. Especially if those guys are kind of almost beating him. He's winning by split decisions. So, you know, that he's cleaned out that division. It's either him or Cormier has cleaned out the division. He's smashed Cormier twice, PEDs or not. But, you know, you got to look at it from the fan perspective and the business side, and, you know, that's not going to fly. So I don't blame him for wanting to go up to heavyweight, and I don't blame him for wanting more money to go up to heavyweight. You know, if you go up to heavyweight, if Jon Jones goes up to heavyweight from light heavyweight, he's more susceptible to getting knocked out. You know, fighting the DCs of the world compared to fighting Francis Ngannou, I think that's a pretty big step up in power. No offense, DCs. DC is good power at heavyweight, but not light heavyweight. Nowhere near the same. So, you know, I don't really blame him for wanting more money. I don't really blame him for having all that bad blood with the UFC, you know, with wanting, you know, the renegotiating with his contract, you know, because if I'm fucking putting my legacy on the line of being the GOAT, I want to get paid for it, because if I get knocked out, if I get starched in 10 seconds by Francis Ngannou, I at least want my pockets to be full. I think that's pretty understandable. So yeah, that's that. Another topic that came out was Michael Chandler. And if you guys don't know who Michael Chandler is, he's a former Bellator lightweight champion. He's a great fighter at Bellator. He actually just starched Benson Henderson, who was a lightweight champion, UFC champion. He beat some big names, that guy, and he actually just starched him. And I believe it was the rematch. I don't think it was a trilogy. I'm pretty sure it was the rematch not too long ago. And he's in talks with the UFC to get signed. So Dana White said that he is actually really interested in talking to him. He has a lot of potential. So, but the thing is, Michael Chandler coming to the lightweight division. Just one second, let me sip my tea. Shout out Selena Peaches and Cream. So he's gonna come to lightweight. Do you wanna have a little breakdown of what the lightweight division in the UFC looks like? I think it's the most stacked division in the UFC by far. Not by far. Bantamweight is kind of close, but still. So I don't know who he'd fight. I'm assuming he'd fight someone in the top 10. I don't know how big of a name he has. I'm sure it's decent to get a top 10 guy. No, so let's see. Gaethje's fighting Khabib, obviously. Poirier's fighting Tony. That's speculation. Tony and Poirier. Conor McGregor's retired. I don't know what the fuck that guy's saying. He could fight Hooker. I don't really see him fighting Hooker. Charles Oliveira is fighting Beneil Dariush, which we'll get into. I think he would fight Paul Felder. Even though Paul Felder kind of said he's retired, I don't know if he would be interested, but I think Paul Felder's like 37, 38. I didn't realize how old he was, so I don't know if he'd be into that. But yeah, I don't know, Paul Felder number 7 or Diego Ferreira number 8. I like Quintus a fun fight at number 9. I actually really like that. Or like Kevin Lee at number 10. Or he could fight, Gregor Gillespie. Cerrone is fighting Nico Price. Drew Dober number 15. Yeah, so I'm saying probably like Ali Quinta. I think that'd be a fun fight. A lot of people on Twitter were saying that he's actually going to get smashed by everyone in the lightweight division, but who knows? You never know until you know. But yeah, so that's that topic. So now we'll get into some fight announcements. I mentioned, Nico Price and Donald Cerrone. That's going to be a nuts fight. Cerrone coming off, I believe it's 3 or 4 in a row. Really want to see him back in the winning column. But regardless, he's going to go out like a legend. I don't know if it's definitely not his last fight. Let's be real, it's Donald Cerrone. So, that's going to be a crazy fight. Nico Price, he's fucking reposted my stuff. Love that guy. I'm always going to root for him, but that's just a fight where I love both guys, and I'll just watch just for just in it to enjoy. I don't really care who wins, but I'll be sad whoever loses because I love both guys. Another fight. This is a crazy one. Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega is being targeted for October 17th. I don't know about you guys, but I think this has fight of the year potential all over it. I don't know why people aren't talking about it as much. I don't know if it's because it's kind of far away, which would make sense, but I think this fight is going to be crazy. I saw Brian Ortega fight Max Holloway live at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. That beatdown, I saw that live. Unbelievable fight. Shout out Max Holloway, it is what it is. But, the bad blood in this fight, it's very unique. It all started with Brian Ortega bitch slapping Korean Zombie's translator at a UFC event when Chang Sung Jung went to the bathroom. So that was kind of a bitch move on Brian Ortega's part. And Korean Zombie was pissed. He wants to kill Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega, even though Brian Ortega apologized afterwards, he still wants to punch a hole through that guy's face. And that'd be a crazy fight. I am leaning towards Korean Zombie in that fight. I just think that with the long layoff since he hasn't fought since the Holloway fight, and the Holloway fight was 2016, something like that. I don't know, 2018, whatever. I think if he hits Ortega the way Holloway hit Ortega, but Korean Zombie has knockout power. He doesn't have... Max Holloway touches you, he punches you in volume. It accumulates over the rounds and with his great cardio, and you slow down. Korean Zombie will just come in and 1-2 you in the face and you're going to bed. So I don't know. I'm kind of really leaning towards the Zombie with that one. And another funny thing was that's kind of ironic is that Chang Sung Jung, there's a video on YouTube of him training with Renner Gracie. They're actually rolling in jiu-jitsu, and Renner Gracie's Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu coach. So that's kind of funny. That's going to be a sick fight. Another fight that just got announced was, I think a couple days ago, even yesterday, was Charles Oliveira, who's number 6th, and Beneil Dariush, who's number 14th. In the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush just fought a couple, I believe, at the Derek Lewis event. I think that was the second last event that just happened. Crazy spinning back fist KO. He's on a tear. I think he's on like a 5 or 6 fight win streak right now. Even his second last fight, he got a crazy highlight reel knockout that, I talked before in the last podcast where the crazy Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, John Anik meme, the hilarious one. But yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting because I was kind of curious as to why Charles Oliveira would take this fight because, he just beat Kevin Lee and hopped up a lot in the rankings. He's number 6. So, if he could have fought, I don't know. He could have waited out and fought a bigger name, but maybe like a Dan Hooker. He could wait for Dan Hooker to heal up from that DP Poirier fight, which he's probably medically cleared already, if not. Going to be soon. So I just thought that was kind of surprised. I don't know if he wants to be active because I know a lot of Brazilian fighters like to be active, whether that's in grappling, like Gilbert Burns, the Burns brothers, they always like to be active. That's why Gilbert Burns, he got the ability to get that title shot against Kamaru Usman because he's always active. He doesn't care about pay. He's not like, I want fucking $16 million for every round I fight, like something stupid like that, like some other fighters we know of. So that was kind of interesting. It probably does come down to being active and just getting paid, especially with this coronavirus shit going on. Who knows what kind of situation he's in. He actually reposted my story of him today, which I thought was really cool. It's always really cool when someone you actually really look up to, because I really look up to his jiu-jitsu, and I'm a huge fan of his transitions against Kevin Lee. When I was watching it at my girlfriend Selena's house at Guelph University, I was just blown away. I was watching it with one of her roommates, Nick Buccangello. Shout out Nick. It was just unbelievable. That guy's just a legend on the ground. It's a very high risk, low reward fight for Charles Oliveira, I feel like, just because of Beneil Dariush's low rank. So he doesn't really move up in the rankings much from this, but nonetheless, that's gonna be a sick fight. And then another one was Edson Barbosa and Sadiq Youssef at featherweight for October 10th. This is Edson's first fight back after his controversial, very, very close fight against Dan Ige for his featherweight debut. Edson really wants to get back in the win column. He's got a couple losses. And Sadiq is a former contender, a Dana White Contender Series winner, is 4-0. He beat Andre Fili and Shaman Moraes. So if he beats a huge name like Edson Barbosa, is one of the elite strikers in the UFC, he's going to go up those rankings, which would be huge for him. So yeah, but those are some fight announcements that have been going on. But now we will transition to UFC 252. Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic, and the first fight that kicked off the event was Jon Dodson versus Merab Balashvili. Jon Dodson was a plus 210 underdog, number 12th ranked bantamweight. He's 22-12, and Merab was a minus 255 favorite. He's number 15 ranked fighter in the bantamweight division, and he's 12-4. Dodson, he's one of the fastest guys to ever compete in the UFC octagon. You can see that from whenever Merab would take him down, and he would just spurt up. Even Dominic Cruz is like trying to hold onto a tennis ball when you fucking bounce it off the ground. So, it was completely shown in that fight. Merab in the first round, there's a lot of feinting, a lot of feeling out, because especially Dodson was very hesitant in this fight, just with Merab's well diverse weapon arsenal. You know, he's got great striking. He's got mixing in the low kicks very well, and then even shooting down in for takedowns. But you know, the first round basically Merab shot him for a takedown, kind of just leaned up against the fence, and then was just raining down knees on his thighs, and then calf kicks, trying to get a couple of foot sweeps to take Dobson down. Didn't really work out, but you know, it took the first round for sure. But yeah, no, and then just throughout the fight, it was just Merab initiating, Dodson just being really hesitant. So that was basically the whole fight, really. It was either, and then when Merab would take Dodson down, he would just shoot back up. So like 90% of his takedowns didn't count, because you have to have control of your opponent in order for them to be considered a takedown. So, and it was funny because at the beginning of the third round, Merab went up to him, and you know, usually sometimes fighters in the third round, they will give each other a hug, and Merab, he just started screaming, "Let's go to war!" And then he screamed, and then they just had this scream match. Like, ah! It was so funny. That was so funny. They made the commentators laugh so hard. It was hilarious. I love seeing shit like that. You know, and something to also note of is Merab's gas tank. That guy is so high energy. In the post-fight interview, he's like, "I'm not even tired. I can go all day." That guy in a 5-round fight is very, very dangerous. You know, a couple more wins, whenever he gets to the headlining position, if he gets there, he's gonna be fucking dangerous if the guy doesn't come prepared to stuff takedowns constantly. Because this isn't heavyweight. It's not like the DC Cormier fight, which we'll get into, where he doesn't utilize his wrestling as much and is worried about gassing out. You know, these little guys, they have more of a gas tank because they're not carrying around as much weight. And this guy's a beast. He trains like a maniac. I love it. He's so humble. In the post-fight interview, he was thanking his teammates. His corner, by the way, is amazing. Aljamain Sterling, who's hopefully he should get the next shot at Petroyan for the bantamweight strap. And he has Ray Longo and Matt Serra, who could literally have their own TV show. If you're not familiar with them, I definitely would search them up and even look at Dana White looking for a fight on YouTube to see what Matt Serra is all about. Great guy, hilarious guy. But yeah, no, so Merab won via unanimous decision. And something it was really nice that he talked about was that he was working a full-time construction job. And now after this win, he's actually going to be able to be a UFC fighter full-time. And it was kind of fucking really scary, the fact that this guy was working in construction, a very hard, labor-demanding job. And he was smashing people. He was doing very well. He was winning. So it's going to be really scary to see what he's all about when he's fighting full-time. So I'm really excited to see this guy fight again. I love his attitude. He wears that warrior kind of wig thing that Habib does, that Habib wears. It's just black. It's different. I don't know. It's just obviously culture-wise. So it's very cool. He called out Sean Melly. We all know how that went, unfortunately. We will get to it. But yeah, no, great fight. Excited to see him fight again. The next fight was Herbert Burns and Daniel Pineda. This was a featherweight fight. Herbert Burns is 11-3. He's obviously the brother of Gilbert Burns, who's the number one welterweight contender. He's getting the next shot at Kamaru Usman. And Daniel Pineda is 27-13 with 2 no contests. In this fight, or leading up to this fight, Herbert actually missed weight by 3.5 pounds. He looked like he had a little bit more body weight going into this fight when he was walking inside the octagon. I don't know if that had something to do with an injury, which kind of resulted in why the fight ended the way it did. Pineda was 28 last time he fought in the UFC. In the first exchange, he actually landed a nice overhand right, but something that no one really noticed was that Burns actually landed a nasty knee that cut open his eye, shut his eye. But throughout the fight, you know, Burns shot him for a takedown, and then Pineda just out. You know, he's an underrated black belt, that guy on the ground. He reversed his position in the first round, and then was landing nice ground and pound, smashing him, nice elbows, working the body head, all that nasty stuff on the ground. So, you know, he looked really good. And then in the second fight, at one point, Burns had his back, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not good for Daniel, because I've seen his brother Gilbert take someone's back and just transition right to an armbar, or, you know, even just choke him out. But this wasn't the case. Pineda actually reversed the position and ended up on top, and then ended up transitioning to a mounted crucifix, and fucking nasty elbows he landed. Herbert Burns could not get out. You could actually hear, this is something that's crazy with the no fans. You could actually hear him grunting and like in pain, and he's like, oh fuck, I can't get out of this. And he was just getting fed Daniel's elbows, and then the fight obviously had to get stopped. TKO victory, a huge win by Daniel Pineda. He was a big underdog in this fight, so that was pretty crazy. He actually said he had to cut 27 pounds in 2 weeks in order to make the weight for this fight, and it's kind of amazing to think about it because Burns missed weight by 3, so he couldn't even cut the extra 3 pounds, while this guy cut 27 pounds in 2 weeks. So that's nuts, but you can't complain because he got 20% of Burns' purse. So, you know, fatter pockets, why not? So the next fight was Junior Dos Santos, the number 5th ranked heavyweight, 21-7 against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 10-1, number 6th ranked. JDS coming, I believe he just fought, I don't know if he just fought Francis or not. Regardless, I believe he's coming off a couple losses, and Jairzinho is coming off that fucking fight against Francis where he got starched, where the stare down lasted longer than the fight, which is unbelievable. You know, this is JDS's first 3-round fight in 5 years. He's been headlining the UFC. I think he's headlining them like 15 times or something nuts. He was coming into this fight in great shape, you know, just lean, very lean, you know, fucking looked amazing. Like just looked ripped. He looked like he was putting in a lot of time and effort into his strength and conditioning program. You know, same with Jairzinho. But yeah, no, right when this fight started, there's a lot of the feeling out process with heavyweights, you know, a lot of feints to see where the guys are reacting with what. And, you know, understandably so, because at heavyweight, you want to do that, because if you are reckless, like Jairzinho was against Francis, and you kind of just throw, or even over him against Francis, which is even the same thing, even more so. If you get caught, you're going to bed, because these guys at heavyweight will have one shot knockout power. Even the guys lower them have the same thing. So at heavyweight, you're going to bed. You can't make these mistakes. So it's good to feel it out and kind of see how your opponent moves, how they react to certain feints or takedowns, anything like that. But yeah, no. So it was eventful fight. You know, they exchanged. It was pretty close. JDS was in that sideways boxing stance. You know, tried a couple of spinning wheel kicks that actually clipped Mark Hunt. Got that crazy highlight reel KO. But yeah, and then eventually Rozenstruik caught him with a right hand and then just finished him off. So, you know, good shit on Jairzinho. He said he wants the fans to pick out the next fight. He's a good guy. I don't know who he's gonna fight next. He was saying he eventually wants a rematch with Francis. He's really upset about that, how that fight went, and he says he wants that rematch either if Francis wins, because Francis is actually going to. It's not official, but Dana White even says that Francis is going to get the next shot at the heavyweight strap against Stipe. So he says either if Francis wins the belt, or if I eventually win the belt, I will give Francis a rematch, or vice versa. So he really wants that fight back. Hopefully he trains hard and plays it out more calculated before then instead of just rushing in. So now the co-main event. I'm not gonna lie, this event really kind of broke my this co-main event broke my heart, because I am a huge Sean O'Malley fan. I don't know how you can't be. He is kind of a dickhead, but he's doing what he does. He's doing what he's supposed to be. He's crazy belief in himself. Hilarious character. He's just funny. His YouTube's funny. But yeah, no, he's number 14th ranked bantamweight. He was 12-0. He's 25 years old. He's still so young. And Marlon Vera is 15-6-1. He's not ranked. And before this fight, something that really irritated the shit out of me was Stephen A. Smith. There was a Stephen A. Smith, like a promo with Sean O'Malley, and Stephen A. Smith, fucking hate that guy, was doing the voiceover, and his script was comparing him to Habib, Ronda Rousey, Lamar Jackson, just crazy names. in the sports world. So, and I was just like, dude, like, what is this? I don't like this at all. It's way too much, way too soon. I get pushing a fighter, but this guy hasn't even beat someone who is ranked, and you're comparing him to Khabib? What? That's nuts. That's stupid. Don't do that. You definitely learn your lesson now, ESPN. But yeah, no. So after this, or before the fight, I'm gonna pull up what I tweeted. So this is something that was kind of funny. Not funny. I don't know. I'm just kind of I kind of knew what I was talking about, I guess. So I tweeted out on the Dark Horse MMA Twitter account at DarkhorseMMA_. Follow, by the way. I said, watching Vera / Sean's recent fights, Vera needs to work the calf kicks early to slow down Sean's movement, or else Sean dances to a unanimous decision win. And I thought Sean was gonna win unanimously because Vera's never been finished before. I thought he was just too durable for Sean, and I thought Sean was just gonna dance around, use his movement, even with the smaller cage, and just pick him apart. But no, man, fucking Marlon Vera went after the calf kicks pretty early, had success, obviously, because at one instance when he kicked his calf, he tried to move around and his knee kind of gave out. Or you can notice, I think it was when you noticed it in his ankle, you noticed something was wrong with his ankle, and then eventually he was moving around, he kind of gave out, his knee gave out, and he was kind of like, what the fuck? And even you could even hear his corner say, like, something's wrong with that knee. Vera's corner, he was just saying, go after it. And then eventually, once, Sean, it was just too noticeable, Marlon fucking went after him. He put the pressure on him, and in one exchange, Sean actually, his knee gave out again. He fell down. Marlon was in his guard, and he landed this one nasty elbow that it looked like Sean was out for a second. So then eventually he landed a couple more hammer fists, and Herb stopped it. So something I wanted to get into was, right when I saw that, I really didn't like the stoppage. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to hear another bad stoppage all over social media. I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. But then I realized that there was no protest. Sean, right away, he was just screaming in agony. He was in so much pain. I'm like, oh shit, man, this guy, like, he obviously couldn't have fought the 3 rounds. But the reason why I was kind of like, oh shit, that's not the best stoppage, was because I automatically thought of all the fighters that have fought on nasty injuries. One fighter I thought of was obviously Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. McGregor had an ACL injury, I think, in like the first exchange or something crazy. And even probably the best example was Thiago Santos against Jon Jones. Thiago Santos almost beat Jon Jones on one leg. So listen to this. Santos in that fight tore his ACL, MCL, FCL, and his meniscus in his left knee. And he was using his left knee his left leg as a weapon that whole fight. He was fucking throwing that. Didn't care. So that just shows that Thiago Santos, that guy's unbelievable. I'm a huge fan of his just for that alone, not even just because of his highlights. I got to shout out that guy. Darren Till even recently against Rob tore his MCL with the Rob foot stomp, or not foot stomp, the knee stomp. So, but no. Just looking back at it, I had nothing wrong with the stoppage. I actually thought it was a great stoppage because, Sean's 25. You don't want to see him take an extra 16 elbows to the temple and get even more brain damage than what he was. What he already got, if he got any, you know what I mean. But, so in that case, I'm like, this guy, just let him heal up. He'll come back. I think he has so much potential still. People are like hopping off the hype train, if you want to call him that. I think he's still a great future in the UFC. I'm not going to say champ. I'm not going to say any of that, but I do think he is a great future. He's just got to train. He's got to heal up. I don't know. I'm saying you should take like a year off or something. I don't know. Just really heal up, really care for that knee, because that was not good. You don't want to come back and too soon and be like Cain Velasquez, where he kind of like blew out his knee, even though he said, it kind of, you know what I mean. All the fighters with the injuries, Luke Rockhold, all these guys, don't want to come back too soon, even though there was a shitty loss. But what are you going to do? You can't really do too much with that. And even there's something to even mention with this is that someone on Reddit I saw on Twitter someone screenshotted this Reddit conversation, this forum, and he was kind of saying, he's like, I think Sean injured his leg before the fight, and you could tell from the Embedded series when Sean was on it. He's saying that he hopped out of his own cage a little weird. He was walking on the treadmill instead of running, and even on the scale, he was standing weird. So that was kind of interesting that he pointed that out. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if he hurt his leg in training because they're just throwing a lot of kicks because he's very kick-oriented, Sean. But, I don't know. I just hope he comes back stronger. And you got to credit to Marlon, man. He did what he had to do to get the win. So, good shit on Marlon. I hope they eventually run it back. Obviously not right away. Because I know Sean obviously wants that fight back because we don't know how that would have gone if that didn't happen. But not taking anything away from Marlon. So now, the main event was Daniel Cormier, 22-2-1. No contest. He's the number 1 ranked heavyweight, obviously. And then he was facing, obviously, Stipe Miocic, who's the champ, 19-3. So right off the bat, man, Stipe, you could tell Stipe, he talked about it in his press conferences and all the media. He doesn't want to start off so slow and be really stagnant in his movements. But he was moving around, head movement, and he was mixing up shots. He mixed up that body shot, that left hook to the body that finished the second round, or that ultimately led to the stoppage in the second fight, sorry. He was mixing up his striking very well throughout the fight. His kicks, he even shot a takedown on DC a couple times, just testing him, keeping DC guessing all the time. And eventually even, he got the double underhooks on the clinch and against the fence and was just controlling DC. And DC even said that, he wasn't expecting that because in the first 2 fights, he didn't do that once. They were always doing the over-under, and, the over-under, he had him in DC had Stipe in the over-under, and then when he swapped, if you do any martial arts, you do, all that movement, you see guys doing that all the time in all the fucking movies and all that shit. I'll put a clip if you realize that. I'll put a clip to show what I'm talking about, because I don't know if I'm explaining it properly. It's basically the movement that DC caught Stipe with the right hand in the first fight that knocked him out. But yeah, no, and then, oh, fuck, man, this sucked. DC, there's a lot of people were giving DC shit because they're like, oh, you're going to eye poke him as usual. And then, of course, DC eye poked him in the first round. And, Stipe just came back from, the eye injury, which is why they couldn't fight for so long. And DC actually was landing that right hand that knocked Stipe out multiple times. He had so much success with that, shooting for the takedown or feinting the shot and coming up with the overhand right. It connected so many times, but Stipe's chin held up. I think the reason that Stipe got knocked out, at least a big reason why Stipe got knocked out like that in the first fight, was that it was a great punch. Of course it was a great punch, but I think it had to do with the fact that it was too soon after the Francis fight, where it went 5 rounds, Stipe ate some big shots, obviously not KO shots, but his head snapped back a lot of times in that fight. And I think that's why. Like, I think, if you get, if your chin gets hit too many times, you're more susceptible to getting knocked out. That's the way it is. The more knockouts you have, the more you get knocked out, the more susceptible you are to getting knocked out. That's just the fight game. That's common sense with boxing, with mixed martial arts, any combat sport when it comes to punching people in the fucking face. And then at the end, near the end of the first round, DC actually wobbled Stipe badly. I wouldn't say badly hurt, but no, he hurt him. And the same thing for Stipe. Stipe almost finished DC at the end of the round 2. It was a little surprising DC didn't wrestle as much, but he mentioned in his post-fight that the game plan was to wrestle if Stipe overextends, and that was really only in the first round, which is where DC got his only takedown, the single leg high crotch takedown that DC loves. I thought he was going to use that way more, especially in the smaller cage, but he didn't. And it's kind of understandable knowing, considering DC's age, he's like 41, I believe, 41, 42, I think 41. 41 heavyweight, you're going to gas out pretty fast if you wrestle, because wrestling is it requires the most energy to do. If you're just constantly shooting at him, DC would have gassed out in like the third round, even the second round, who knows? So I don't really blame him there. People were giving him shit about that. And in the third round, Stipe actually really, really badly poked DC in the eye. It was nasty. It was fucking half his finger was in this guy's brain. It was disturbing. But it sucked because DC right after he said he couldn't see anything out of his left eye. It was all black, so that was pretty shitty. It was unlucky, but also it's kind of payback for all the times he poked Stipe in the eye. So, and then all the other fights he's poked in the eye. So it's just the fight game, and that's more of a reason the UFC needs to fucking change their gloves and get Trevor Whitman to make their gloves for them. I don't understand why it's taking so long for them to do that. The UFC is so greedy that they want to buy the patent off Trevor Whitman's gloves, which obviously would be the stupidest business decision ever, and he's not a dumb guy. He's a genius. So I don't know what they're saying. They need to work something out. They need to change shit with that, because the biggest problems the UFC has is their judges and the gloves. Those are the two biggest things in my opinion. Judges and the gloves. You got fucking boxing judges judging mixed martial arts fights, and we got fucking these eye pokes that are happening so often. So you got to fix that. That's something that really irritates the shit out of me. It's something that really tarnishes the sport that I'm really passionate about. So you got to fix that shit, man. I don't know what it is, but you definitely can fix that. But anyways, going back into the fight, going into the fifth, I think it was tied 2-2. Very close. DC badly hurt Stipe, then Stipe badly hurt DC, and then it was kind of it was close. But I really think that the thing that led Stipe to winning, obviously by unanimous decision, was the control time in the clinch. I think that really leaned the close rounds in his favor, because when judges look at those high numbers, there's I think it was over 3 minutes he had in the clinch with clinch time. Those are high numbers, especially against DC. So congrats Stipe, all fucking the heavyweight GOAT, well deserved. He's going to get Francis again, the rematch, most likely. Got to give him credit, man. He's a great role model. Great. He looked amazing, very lean, the long, luscious hair. He looked like a model. I loved it. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. He's a great guy, firefighter in his spare time. He's a great role model. Gotta love it. You obviously got to feel for got to feel for DC, just coming up short. I really want him to ride off into the sunset, champ again, but shit happens. It's DC. He's still one of the best to ever do it. One of the best combat sports athletes to ever do it. With his Olympic background and then multiple division champ, defended both belts. He's amazing. You gotta give that guy credit. And then in the post fight, DC even acknowledged Stipe's ability to clinch and told him and hold him against the cage for long periods of time. And he even said that he thinks that's why Stipe ultimately won. That was the deciding factor, or at least one of the deciding factors that kind of lead the judges to go his way. He even said, he's used to him going to the double. He wasn't expecting to go with the double underhooks. Didn't wrestle him because it was never available, because Stipe was overextending. And he ultimately said that, he's not interested in fighting anymore, ultimately because, it won't be for a belt, and he's only interested in fighting for belts because that's all for his legacy, right? So, yeah, imagine him fighting Francis right now against Starks, even though that's not happening, but it makes sense. It's definitely time for DC to retire. Well deservedly so. Amazing career. One of the best to do it for sure. But yeah, no, after this when Stipe was tied for the most title fight wins at heavyweight was 6, and he's tied with, of course, Randy Couture. And the bonuses for UFC 252 was Kamaka versus Tony Kelly. They got fight of the night. I think that was the first fight of the actual entire card. And if you don't watch all the fights, I highly recommend it. I would even just recommend just watching this fight back, because personally, if I'm able to, I will watch every single fight no matter what, because a lot of the guys even the early prelims, especially, this is a perfect example. They have a lot of proof in that they're going to go to war more likely. So they want to prove themselves. They want to get paid. They want to get performance of the night because they're not getting paid a lot of money, right? So, and speaking of performance of the night, they got performance of the night went to Verna Dendroba with a nasty armbar against Felice Herrick. Beautiful jiu-jitsu. She's a jiu-jitsu legend. Crazy credentials. She's a badass. Watch out for her. It was one of the fastest finishes in UFC strawweight history. So watch out for her. She's a badass in the strawweight division. And Daniel Pineda with his mounted crucifix finish against Herbert Burns. But yeah, no. So that pretty much sums up everything. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. And if you missed any of the previous episodes, click right here and catch the highlights. See you later.